On the contrary, it'll be a full-size stream, but I've decided that the calibration period, the period where everybody's gathering or whatever, like we've talked about this, that the majority of everybody who is going to watch this is going to see it a long time from now. And the throat clearing phase where they're like, what is this? Then those are folks, I'm going to start doing a countdown timer for when the real program starts, which means plus also I have to wait for the chat to show up. And that drives me nuts. And it just takes a second. So what I'm going to do, I wrote too many E's. Too many E's in coffees. So like, Social Stream Ninja likes the way that Twitch does it. It doesn't like it the way that YouTube does it. So I'm just going to give it time. So in this case, that'll just be part of the ritual. Is the countdown is, if somebody sees this after the facts, it'll be not happening or not starting until the countdown. I'm going to get coffee. It's that time of the morning. It's that time of the morning, y'all. All right. Now we're going to see whether or not this be... Let's see. Oh, wait. Did it work? Robert Williams joining us from the land of Scam Nation. Excellent. Okay, that's one down. Look at this. Yeah, I think this will work a little bit better. Check. And coming in first, Wago333 on the Mono Rogue side. Yes, Rico Binad 187. Yo, word, homie GG, what, gangster? Oh my God. Good vibes. Man, I really wanted to gossip. Hey, there we go. Good deal, good deal, good deal. I'll tell you what, Business Jim, there is something to be said about, like, at some point, where does the art lie? If it's just a random noise factory and at some point it gets curated and it becomes a collage. I'll tell you, here's one of the things I was thinking of. Oh, man, if I play it, it's going to be a million copyright violations. But I've been watching these old 20-year-old assembly videos where they teach you how to recreate note for note, like the Prodigy's Firestarter. I guess technically we're not starting. But when you see that you take a whole bunch of samples, you know what? Maybe we do. No, I can't. There'll be... You know what? Screw it. Yes. Okay, so here's my latest thing that I'm thinking about when it comes to the changing shape of the world's relationship with AI. And you guys have heard me talk about how I don't really care for those letters anymore because no two people are having the same conversation. How to make Prodigy smack my bitch up. There we go. So, okay. There we go. So check this out. This is going to be a big old copyright violation. But we talk about sampling culture. Now, keep in mind, sampling, bad, right? Because it's all stolen music. But when you look at this... And then it gets pitched up. And then it gets copy pasted. And then the bass line. All stolen. Stolen.
Ready, and now it's my turn to build, uplift, get swift, then drift off and do my own thing. Switch up, change my pitch up, smack my bitch up like a pimp. For any rapper, change my pitch up, change my pitch up, smack my bitch up, smack my bitch up, change.
Anyway, point being, what seems obvious as low effort cheating at one level, at some point it becomes real hard to dispute that there's some kind of artistry happening, and I certainly think that's what's happening when it comes to Synth Mage. Hello, beautiful people. Oh, I almost nailed that landing right on the minute. Welcome to Office Hours. I'm Brian Brushwood. Office Hours is our weekly, daily, 5 times a week, every day, public service in which I show up, I crack open the door, I do the stuff that I was going to do anyway, except you're welcome to ask me any questions. Tell me about your projects. Let me know, how can I help? Today, on the agenda, a thing that I need to do is do a write-up on the recent storytelling workshop, the Storytelling Academy that I did in Canada. So I figured what I'd do is I'd talk it out with you guys and then take the transcript from that later and then distill it down into a proper 2 to 3 page breakdown of all the stuff that we did. But of course, you guys are the top priorities. Hey, look at this. Let's see. I'm going to generate some fake traffic here. Let's just take a look. Okay, that is pretty big. I am going to have to, because I made a fundamental shift, that means we're back to, you guys are going to have to see just a little bit of Brian mucking with a whole bunch of doodads. Oh, interesting. So this one, dun, dun, dun. Do you guys, would it be better for us to model something in particular? Like, should we pick a particularly obscure or interesting sports layout and riff on that. Because maybe that's why I have such a soft spot for sampling culture, is just because I love so much starting with the nucleation point of just give me something to riff on, and then I'll figure out the shape of it. Okay. No, this feels like it should be a little bit smaller, doesn't it? Is that small enough for you guys to read? There we go. Let's try that one more time. Oh, I have to go back and generate more fake text. Awesome. Yeah, I do notice the difference in the styles. I noticed the difference in the styles between the curvature and the rest of the block text stuff that we have. That's still not great. I still gotta maybe. Yeah, this is all stuff that really should have been done off air, but that's not. If this were a real program, I'd have something to beef about. I'd have something to grouse about and judge myself, but it's not, and I don't. So let's start with what you guys are up to. Oh my God, is Cattle Humper in the audience? That's fantastic. It's so good to see you. Oh my God, that's great. That is fantastic. Okay, now I can get all caught up on all of this stuff. G. James B. So I started working on the most recent Great Night. I'm at the point where some heartbreaking cuts are needed to get it under 10 minutes. Ooh, tell me about it. Talk me through your process, and I can offer whatever guidance I can. ATL John Boy, yep. Certainly in the case of Prodigy, this is why I'm kind of fascinated by the remixing lens through which to view AI, because that particular Prodigy breakdown video, clearly so much is happening that there's no question that it's transformative. That's where we're going to get, where people, that's where the argument, the anti-AI argument is going to break down, is when we start seeing works of art that no matter how you got all of the samples, it'll, if anything, be more ethical than that Prodigy stuff, because you'll have licenses to all of the LLMs. The LLMs will be trained on source material where all the artists got paid, and they continue to get paid royalties according to how their stuff is used based on the quality of their work. And then somebody else will remix it and be creating art that we all will agree with good art. That's my very unpopular futurist take of where this is clearly headed. But for right now, it's all just too tight, too close. By the way, G. James B., I love where you're headed. My goal is we're filling out the live tab with lots of good segments and moments. And if we can polish those up and present them in a curated way, I just want to start dropping them in the main feed. Just each one, here are the rules. Each one has to be its own self-contained unit. Like you should be able to not know who the characters are, but it should just be inherently funny. And that should be the distilled thing that makes you curious about tuning in at a later time. Because we do a lot of raw beer. That was also true. We do a lot of raw beer that can be distilled into finely grained or finely blended, highly distilled, consistent product. And I think it's time. I think that the live game is good enough now that we want to start polishing up chunks, segments, little slices to put out to the world that are inherently entertaining in and of themselves. So back to Prodigy. The Prodigy thing is the end of the rainbow. And then at the beginning of the rainbow, you've got, Rapper's Delight by the Sugar Hill Gang, which is just nakedly a loop of good times. Good times? These are our good times? Or in my generation, it was low effort, relatively low effort of Vanilla Ice rapping over Under Pressure. Those were the Oogie's recoils. Now on the other side, you get to the Prodigy, transformative sampling level. But there's going to be some distance between here and there. We were talking yesterday about how, well, here, let's do this. We'll do a quick check-in, and then I'm going to explain to you guys this Storytelling Academy so that I can get my bulleted list. Oh, wait a minute. Adam Peterson commented on my post. First, I got to make it a little bit chillier in here. Is it cold in the rest of the U.S.? Oh, geez. It's set to cool down to 84 degrees. Perfect. All right. So, good. I got to admit, I am surprised by the fact. Ooh, Business Jim, tell me about this. For the music producers out there, Daft Punk also did some magic with samples, and then they casually invited sidechain compression. Invited or invented? 40-ish in Seattle, that's good. Yeah, I think invented. Got it. Yeah, BioCow. I'm so bummed that we all had Thanksgiving. It just wasn't the right time to do a get-together, but I look forward to fixing it when we get up there. G. James B., what part of the U.S. are you in? I always forget that part. Well, let's see. We'll take a tour of the back end. That latest short continues to pop, and I was really surprised by that. I would have thought that this was a 48-hour one and done, and the reason was because I guess that's fine. The reason was because the shape of the curve I didn't expect. Here, we'll look at basically I look at engagement and retention. Retention is good in that it ends with 70%. We talked about that. Engagement, though, is softer than the 80% that I was expecting, or over 80% that I was hoping for. But then again, maybe this one won't be as big as the door kicking one. But look at that, man. What are we at? 94,000 in the last hours. Again, what I look for is how many people are onboarding for the full experience. How many people, this is their entry point. And I guess, here's something that we haven't checked out. Let's see how many people are we reaching for the very first time versus people who have already been around. Obviously, we're hitting a lot of mobiles. Everybody's pooping. I think it's fascinating that 7% of people watch YouTube Shorts on a computer. TV makes sense. Tablet makes sense. My demo. And then there should be, I thought there was a, how many people are watching this video in terms of returning viewers versus first timers, question mark. I'll tell you what, in the meantime, I will do this guy down here. No, I'm not. No, I mean how to win ring toss at the carnival. There we go. Ah, yeah. Oh yeah, it's Adam is saying that mainly that's driven by curiosity gap, which makes sense. I don't blame you. I've done that too. One More Time by Daft Punk is a good example. The only issue they claimed is it was not a sample, which it was, but in the process they invented sidechain compression. That's basically when you duck the sound of a synth so that the kick sound is huge, This is basically the standard now, but it was insane at the time. That's cool. And then now I'm noticing that you're cut off at the top, so now, forgive me, I can't stop. Now that we're getting so close to... There we go. And that down. There we go. Although now it's on my face, which is fine. Probably an improvement. Yes. No, that's exactly what's happening, BioCow. Of course, now one of the things is there are different philosophies. There are people who do a lot of refining in the privacy of their own head, and then when they come out, it comes out perfectly done. I am more a iterative kind of guy, as you know by now. And then let's do the horizontal chat ticker. We're going to make this one smaller too. There we go. Here, let me throw some fake messages on here. Fake messages. There we go. Now this is actually, oh my God, I'm just realizing I need to just alter the layers on this. ATL John Boy, I hate the paralyzing feeling of seeing a BBverse clip you've already seen, but on a different platform, and right before you flick it away, you think, well, what about the analytics? Truthfully, I don't know. Because the analytics are going to apply specifically to you, but also, like, for example, once we started doing the office hours, there are some people who are kind about it, but in the comments they're saying, hey, how do I stop these from appearing in my feed? I don't want to unsubscribe, but this is not the content that I'm there for. And the answer is just ignore it. Like, the algorithm is extremely good at figuring out what you do and don't want. And it will take very little time at all for it to understand that, oh, you do want when a highly polished banger comes out, but you don't want to be bothered any other time. But also, at the same time, I mean, you got to keep it trained. It's your butler, and if your butler is bringing you the right things, you want to reinforce that it's doing the right thing. Oh. Okay, so new versus returning take up to 2 days. So that sucks. Okay. Yeah, I guess here, provide. There we go. We'll provide overall data on this. Okay, so this video's performance is considered above typical. That's fine. Typical range. Yep. Stayed to watch is 76.4 compared to the 58 to 60. Okay. Boy, this is a game changer. The fact that you could just talk to the YouTube backend and everybody's going to ask for advice, but really all it could do is just describe the way gravity works, and it's up to you to figure out what is the crowd doing. Oh, interesting. Tweetbex says, I always like the video, then watch on 2x speed. On TikTok at least, or... Can you watch at 2x speed on TikTok? That's crazy. Oh, so now what I'm seeing here is that on this, interesting. Oh no. Oh no. Guys, I'm realizing that the reason this is bad is because while this is the right setup, for example, in this, there we go. In fact, maybe we'll, whoops. Oops. There we go. Okay. Man, hate to do it. I'm going to have to make individual presets with all of these integrated things so that we go in between them. Oh, that's going to be tedious. But that's the right thing to do. Because like even there you see it's written and then it's written again. That shouldn't be happening. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, let's do this then. Let's make some progress on this agenda. Unless, actually, we'll get Cord Killer's prep out of the way. Aha! There we go. Got it. Man, I really am. I'm going to have to... Okay, so let me show you where my head's at right now. Okay, so what I'm realizing... I'm going to explain to you... There we go. So right now, you see these 1, 2, 3, 4s right on there? That is, whenever you click one of these, it's like layer 1, layer 2, layer 3, layer 4 over everything. So if I were to do this on layer 4, no matter what it is, when I click it, it will throw that on top of it. Unless I do this Luma one, in which case it'll throw it on top like that. I've been leaning on those because those are easy to understand. However, where it breaks down is when we get to more complicated shots, like this one, where we need to transition from 1 to 1 to 1. But the problem is some of the overlays are always on or not always on, and then when I do something like this, that's over everything, which that's all fine. But really, I should have, instead of like the always on bug, it should be baked into every single shot so that everything can move around, which means a lot of rebuilding all that stuff. Oh boy. That's fine. That's fine. Yeah, Tweepex, thank you for the kind words. It's been a bit to get this far. So and this is the lighter of the setups here. Yep. So if somebody's not seen the full tour, there we go. So we've got the over-the-shoulder cam, we've got the main cam here, switching area, chat over here, Telestrator up here, Robo Thoughts over here. This is a separate computer that I'm using Mouse Without Borders to access. So you see the mouse turns purple over here, and it's green over here, so that I know which computer I'm on as I go around. And then the rest of the place, I don't have the other cameras set up. at the moment, but usually I just riff one of those, mainly for the practice. Those cameras are OBS Bottail 2s that are able to do fun stuff like follow. Hey, oh, whoa, oh, yeah, Mouse Without Borders is pretty great. Not only that, check this out. With Mouse Without Borders, I can copy something here on this computer and then go over to this computer and, well, here. Copy it and paste it on there. So it does copy and paste between two different computers. Oh, Ligma. So complicated. Wait, here's the funny thing is I don't know if Ligma is, if you're just unironically making the joke right now, or if somebody named an actual tool Ligma. What a great superposition. Where I no longer know whether or not I'm being gotten or not. Enlighten me, Will. If Ligma's a real tool and you're not just punking me, I'd love to know it. Hello, Marion G. Good to see you. Happy New Year to everyone. Happy birthday to my cousin Jesse. Here, I'm going to send him a quick note. And then I will do the work that I need to do. I will never forget his birthday because I was so excited when I turned 4 years old. I remember riding on big wheels and saying, I'm 4 now. He goes, who cares? I'm 5. And that's when I found out that his birthday was on the 5th. All right, Will, you can't keep me on it. Don't make me. Oh, deep cuts to the game. That's funny. Yep. Okay, it was a Ligma joke. God, doggone it. I really, not gonna lie, I sincerely was hoping that there was some tool out there that, because somebody was being cute, wanted to call it Ligma. That's great. Okay, so let me talk this part out and kind of get it out of the way. In fact, what I'll do is I'll stop. Yeah. There you go. I'm going to stop recording, and then I'm going to start recording again. There we go. Okay, so this is a summary of what we did at the storytelling workshop that I did up in Canada. This is for the #1 junk removal service on the planet. They are the Coke of this world, and they did it based on a fun, customer-centric, magic, extrovert energy-driven campaign. And so now we live in a world where AI targeting and robots is making things more and more artificial. And so this one-day workshop, we gathered up all of the storytellers, all of the folks in charge of their social media, of their video, of their vignettes, and I gave a 6-hour presentation. Now we began with one of my favorite exercises in the entire planet. We began with the world's most unfair storytelling game called Don't Get Brodied. Let's do this. South by So Wasted 2019. So if you're unfamiliar, we play a game called Don't Get Brodied. We're in the rules are you're going to tell your very best cocktail party story, but you're not going to be judged by applause. The quality of the story is irrelevant. All that matters is how many seconds can you go before the folks the folks on stage turn against you and give you a thumbs down. So everybody starts in this gladiatorial pose like this, and then the moment one person hits 0, then this song is played and you're out, right? And then so here's an interesting thing that happens. First of all, let's take a look at 3 stories. We'll start off with, there we go, I'll pause this. Board bloop, at which point we hear,
Yeah. So I have to ask on behalf of the people that may or may not be competing, how many thumbs downs do I have to do before I get one of those
The
bottles of
first
whiskey?
one that goes down, you're done.
Okay. All right. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Ooh, all right.
All it takes is one. All it takes is one.
What one of these?
Yeah,
One of
yeah. By the way,
these-
you're telling the story, so you don't have your thumb out.
Just be a fair judge, and you'll get it.
Oh,
It's
okay.
fine.
All right, who's going first?
Middle of the Hot Cool Challenge.
So in this case, canonically, the best story that we got this night was Paul Mattingly's story of fighting with somebody at Quark's Bar in Las Vegas. And so he landed it, and you can see there that he landed it in like 2 minutes and 30 seconds. So that was his whole score, right? And then meanwhile, Jomo of Jomo and the Possum Posse, he probably had an even better story, but he never got it out because watch what happens.
Okay, so he says everybody's looking at the Taj Mahal and bathing in its majesty with the reflective pond, and he says, no, we got to get to the back side of the Taj Mahal. So he and I go around, and he gets the moon coming up, and just as that's happening, there's a cliff on the back side of the Taj Mahal, and a little bit of a rise on this side, and this troop of monkeys is coming down. Yeah.
All right, so very shortly after he
Rhesus
craters.
monkeys. So they start coming down, and they travel in packs. Yeah. I didn't taste them, but yes. They're coming down. There's like 50 of them, and they're coming between the cliff and the edge of the platform that Taj Mahal sits on. So we scoot back, and he says, "This isn't quite right. You know, we got to get this way." And I said, "Well, let's let the monkeys come through. Let's let them go and do their thing." And so most of the monkeys get through, and there's maybe 3 or 4 monkeys left. And I said, "Let's go." And he says, "I'm gonna wait a little bit." And I said, "It's 3 or 4 monkeys. Let's do this." And they're small. They're like a small dog, like a border collie. But more like an old man face on a border collie, and sharp fangs, and they have opposable thumbs, and they're fast as shit. I learned. So I started walking down the alleyway, and I later learned the.
So there, in that case, is a genuinely good, interesting story, possibly an award-winning story, but we ain't never gonna know because the process got in the way. He got into the weeds and we lost the thread. We couldn't see where we were headed in our role. Now, the winner is somebody who cheated, somebody who told a middling story, I say with all affection, but understood that the game is not to tell the best story. We don't call it the best story game. We call it Don't Get Brodied, and that's why Bonnie won.
Y'all. Peace.
Minutes, 30 seconds.
Bonnie Brushwood. Thumbs in neutral positions. Ladies and gentlemen, Bonnie Brushwood, don't get Brody.
The 3 things Brian put in his mouth in our courtship.
All right. Immediately, she hands a job to the audience. You know exactly what you're about to get. You're about to get 3 things. Who's the other character? The character is, first of all, the one being talking to. The second character is Brian. She doesn't inject herself until the 3rd character. And even then, she's an ancillary character because it's our courtship. And so immediately you got it. They're like, well, we know that at some point something's going to go inside Brian's mouth.
Number 1.
So she tells a story, and then here's the other thing. Because she's paying attention to the feedback, she's just running her mouth until she sees somebody about to go all the way thumbs down. At which point...
live crawfish. So we're all my friends.
At which point she jumps to another one.
Because his friends dared him to. So that,
Brian.
And so she ended up winning based on time. It's not safe for work, the third thing that went into Brian's mouth. But the important part is that when you think, that is number one, it's a riff on a familiar party game of just tell a story about yourself, but it's got an unfair twist with a design nudge that something magical happens. The moment you get started, people, number one, realize that the way to keep going is to immediately blurt out where this is headed. And number two, make sure that you're telling a self-deprecating story. And then by the end, many of the stories were from introverts who hate this kind of thing, but they were able to speak extemporaneously about their anxiety in the moment of making it through the trial of playing Don't Get Brodied. And that was fucking incredible. It was unbelievably enchanting. We were all in present tense cheering for them to get through. And of course, the stories got longer and longer because we all had more grace for the other person and empathy. So once we got through that, everyone had kind of been through a little bit of a trial by fire. And everybody realized that a human connection that elicited empathy is what got people engaged. There was only one person who got brodied, and it was because he had kind of this Russian doll of nesting parentheticals that there was one too many of them, and it just felt like it wasn't going to go anywhere, so he got cut off, right? And then, so we did that. Next up, I did my full How to Scam Your Way Into Anything lecture with a twist on emphasis of social proof. In addition to telling the story of how to win a free drink at the bar, that was like 45 minutes. We learned about the fundamental backdoors of psychology, like liking, reciprocation, trappings of authority, urgency, and most importantly, social proof. The core of this story was about how the whole thing that put Scam School on the map was the fact that we were piggybacking on the success of the pioneering spirit of Dig Nation. And it was at Dig Nation Live that I pitched the idea of, hey, our shared value is that we love new media. Look at the top 20 on iTunes. They're all the old guards, your NPRs, your Oprahs, and so on. Wouldn't it be great if one of our own made the top 10? We're going to do that by all hitting subscribe at the exact same moment. Here, everybody follow me on the newly emerging platform called Twitter. And then at the exact same time on June 6th at 6 p.m., 666, we all hit subscribe. And the next day, we had the number 3 spot and the number 7 spot in the top 10. High fives. We did it. We blew up the Death Star at the end. What didn't occur to me is that the program is pretty good. And by virtue of being in 2 of the top 10 slots in all of iTunes, 1 week later, we were still in the top 10 in 2 of those slots. That social proof was incredible. And we saw it again later when, after trying the same thing with the Scam School books, Scam School Book 1 hit number 1 across the board because everyone bought it at the exact same time. But then Book 2, it didn't work, because we were crowded out by 3 books at the top 10, the 50 Shades of Grey trilogy. And then looking at it, John Tilton pointed out, oh man, look at all these knockoffs of 50 Shades of Grey. You should just make your book look like those. And then that sparked the idea of like, wait a minute, why don't we just fake an erotic fiction bestseller? So that's what we did on the comedy show. We had everybody write chapters, and then we had a framework. We had a cover that looked like 50 Shades of Grey, and then we widened the circle. We had a Reddit post that hit the top of Reddit asking if anybody wanted to play along for 99 cents. We ended up selling nearly 30,000 copies of that book. This is before Wall Street Journal would count ebooks as actual book sales, but it would have been a legit a phenomenon of a best-selling book, full on. And then, again, high five. We blew up the Death Star. We made it to the top 10. And you can tell it was all our people because down at the bottom it says customers also bought. There's Brian's books. There's Andrew Main's book. Haha. And then 1 week later, though, the reviews weren't all 5 stars who were in on the joke. The reviews weren't all 1 stars saying it was bad. The reviews were 3.5 stars saying, yeah, it delivered on what I expected. And also, all of the customers also bought books were nothing but other romance bestsellers. So, again, the power of social proof. Once enough people are clapping and applauding for a thing, then people are willing to audition it to see if it's a fit for them. But getting over that barrier between you and they, you and your marvelous, wonderful idea, and they, all the busy people on the planet who are coming and going at all times, is a heavy, heavy lift. And that's why you need to begin with a gift. This is the part of the workshop where I explain my whole story attention sales framework about how what you have, in my case, I had a magic show that was multiple trophy winners, multiple statewide magic competitions. I knew I had a good magic show, but what I knew is that I could not begin until somebody picked a card. If I was a musician, I could just sit there and play my bass and hopefully somebody would throw a 20 in a hat. But I was a magician, and so instead I had to get somebody to pick a card. And so like an idiot, I talked about what I was gonna do. Hey, everybody, gather around. You're gonna see fire eating, escapes, mind reading. I'm gonna break a 30-pound brick over my head, etc., etc., etc. And of course, what I didn't realize at the time was to all those eyeballs coming and going, those proxies for YouTube nowadays, the performance was happening. And the performance was a crazy man wants you to pick a card. That's not a very compelling show. And so as a result, a bubble of avoidance would happen around me. Meanwhile, on the other side of the U.S. was a magician named David Groves, guy who literally wrote the book on street performing, Be a Street Magician. He, as far as I know, had 0 Texas-based magic trophies. So let's hypothesize that hypothetically, I had a better show, and yet he was always able to get a bigger crowd and get paid. What was the difference? The difference was that he had one thing I didn't, which was a bunny in a rabbit in a hat on a table. That gift of a bunny on the table is a self-contained unit of story. Now, it's not a very complicated story. That anybody walking by, all they're going to get out of that story is, that's a cute bunny, the end. But he knew that it was stochastic, that 1 out of 100 people, 200 people, 300 people, sooner or later, there was always somebody who walked over and asked to pet the bunny. And when they did, it's like, yes, of course, pet the bunny. But you know the rule. Rule? What rule? You pet the bunny, you got to pick a card. And just like that, he's got one. Now it's a bigger, more interesting story. Now there's a little girl, there's a deck of cards, there's a magician, and there's a couple of people watching. And because it's a more interesting story, it's easier for him to grab them like flies and make these little harvests, asking everybody to gather around closer, closer. And soon, it's very clearly this gravity well has come to a tipping point, and there's a full-on show happening. So he does 1 routine, 2 routines, 3 routines, 4 routines, and around the 20-minute mark, something very strange happens. People begin to figure out that they're receiving something of value. And research by Dennis Regan of Cornell University shows that, boy, oh boy, do people not want to feel indebted to another person. They're happy to do whatever it takes in order to get to balance the scales. So when it gets to the point where he takes that exact same hat and passes it around, people are happy to throw 20, 50, $100 in there because they feel like they got that much value out of it. And then, I'll get to all there's stories on stories and all of this stuff, Jim. So that is the key gift. That is the key secret, is you must begin with a gift. A self-contained unit that cannot be a sample of the real thing. You're not giving away a free sample. It has to be a self-contained unit of story that is adjacent to the story, that is easy but is congruent with it. Keep in mind, David Groves is not running a petting zoo or a haberdashery when he's got that bunny in a hat on there. But a bunny rabbit in a hat is congruent with this message of magic, so it makes it easy for people to say, yeah, I'll take a flyer, I'll pick a card. How bad can it be? And of course, what happens is you keep giving so much value, so much entertainment, that it's hard to extract yourself, and indeed you don't want to. You're having a great time, and you love being able to kick over a few bucks to even things. That fundamental secret, that virtuous cycle of having a story, beginning with a gift, earning attention, real estate in other people's minds, harvesting that in the form of action, getting them to pick another card or take 2 steps to get closer. That is all in service of the show getting bigger, and it keeps on going as you reinvest it to tell a bigger and bigger show until finally you have a giant big finale and everybody's doing the wave at the end. That is core fundamental, and you see it in all structures. You see it in writing, you see it from in visual arts, even paintings. You can tell all that. A painting will oftentimes be one reward if you glance at it from a distance, but then you look closer and it'll reveal more rewards. And if you look even closer, it will reveal even more. There are exercises where people are told to spend 2 full hours only looking at one painting. Everybody dreads doing it. Everybody says it's one of the most miraculous things that they've done in all of their college education. That's the way good stories are crafted. So we learned all about this. We learned all of these examples, and then we went through the nuts and bolts analytics, how to read the analytics, and a part of that is titles and thumbnails. So I showed them, just like I do during the class, I grabbed a couple of contenders for good shorts that we could launch. And then what you want to do is figure out a congruent title and thumbnail that even if the title and thumbnail is all people get, are they better off for it? Is the title plus thumbnail a gift unto itself, a bunny on the table? And then once we found it, then we're able to find, I think we launched one and it was one of the top of the last 10 performers, but everybody was able to watch the way you guys have seen as I process election night returns, making little nudges after the fact to goose up interest on there. And then after that, we were able to examine some of their pieces that they were working on, which I don't think I can talk about, outside of to say there was one, I think this is publicly facing, they had a customer where they made her the big star or the interviewee, but as she's talking, it's very clear she's talking around something. So within like the first 10 seconds, there's a bit of a puzzle to crack. And what you figure out is, oh, her father passed away. And this is the part where she's ready to clear out his garage and begin her next phase of her life. And they never hammer it home. It's hypnotic and riveting, and much like Bonnie's introduction, it keeps the person paying for the ad as an ancillary character, because the real characters are the folks at home and the person being interviewed on stage. And then finally, we get to the last part. We talked about a bunch of little tricks that you could do, or I guess I say tricks, but it's really fundamentals. There are all these slider bars that you can adjust in your storytelling for framing, for polish, for creating glamour, shadows to project moments of anticipation on. You guys have seen me reference this book, Virginia Postrel's The Power of Glamour. Like on the cover is a model looking away, and for all I know, she maybe has a crooked nose and buck teeth, but I wouldn't know because she's not looking at me, the viewer, and that makes her glamorous. Likewise, other photos in there, you'll see Michael Jordan not actually dunking the ball, but at that moment of anticipation where you can feel a thunderclap about to happen, because the brain loves filling in all of these gaps. And so as we learn to paint in negative space, or as my friend Nate Staniforth calls it, paint everything but the flame, then you get much more powerful stories. And finally, just as we began with this get out of your comfort zone unfair storytelling exercise with Don't Get Brodied, we ended with a 10-second film festival. I said, all of y'all are going to split into pairs of 2. You all have phones. You're going to make a 10-second movie. That means it can't be good. And in fact, I insist it not be good. But we're going to take 3 random things that you need to tell a story with. And so I said, give me a big, broad idea. Somebody said Homecoming. I'm like, great. Give me something weirdly specific. And somebody said a duck. I'm like, great. I said, give me something spicy, something strange. And somebody says a malapropism, where you, what is it? It's kind of like an unintentional pun, or when you mush mouth a thing. You guys know what I'm talking about. And I said, great. Those, you have to thread the needle, get all 3 of those, or at least 2 of those, in a 10-second short movie. And some of the experienced social media folks were like, I have an idea, and they ran off and went to do their thing. But there was a couple of ladies who were clearly introverted and not into they didn't leap at the opportunity to make a short movie. And so what I told them is, I said, here, let me grab literally anything. I grabbed a, what do you call it? Here, I think I can show it to you. Oh, shoot. Did we lose the YouTube chat a while ago? Boo. Boo. Auto find and activate. Ah, crap. Sorry that the YouTube chat isn't showing up. But let me land the plane on this. There we go. What do we do? So my point is like, let it be bad. Let it be terrible. Let it be so dumb and bad that you can't believe it.
The home's so lonely ever since Quacky left. I suppose Logan. Oh, Quacky, you came home. I'm British.
Right? Okay, that was bad. But the important part was, by making literally anything, you could look at it and say, why did I make her British? And then you could ask, well, that was interesting. I told the story from the perspective of a physical home. And then also there was a metaphor, because I just grabbed whatever items were around, which were the matches from a previous demonstration. And in that, by taking whatever's internal, making it external, and then looking at it again with fresh eyes, now you're actually iterating. And what was amazing is these 2 ladies immediately had an idea. So already when you're making a short movie, you got the vertical video, which is restrictive, but then they made the frame even smaller by using a Post-it notepad. And then they made it even smaller because they did a flipbook animation with only a few frames of a little duck going in. It was like 6 frames long as a flipbook, but each one of these restrictions, these modalities, made the story somehow feel even bigger, even though objectively it was only getting smaller. And so that was great. We also got a bunch of other examples that I'm gonna break down. Some people played with scale. Some people played with frame line magnetism. Some people played with delightful incongruities. One of them had a skit where they were like, "Oh, there's just this duck," and then when it cut to the duck was definitely like a pigeon or something. That's just what happened to be flying around, and it was hilarious. The core thing that I saw that made me so happy was the transformation between theoretical working it out, where you're just arguing with yourself and hypothesizing how it might go, and the iterative process of getting it outside of you, looking at it and refining. And once I saw that, it was remarkable. I feel like everybody got tremendous value out of it. I'm extremely proud. And now I've described the main beats so that I can write my summary of that. I just did the thing. The same thing I was telling you guys to do. I didn't keep it all in here and look at a blank page and start writing. I got it outside of me. Let's see. See if we can figure out why we lost that stuff. Whoa. If I had to recommend one book on storytelling, what would it be? An easy one for starters is Stephen King's On Writing, mainly because it's just, I mean, if you've read Stephen King, then you just get to hang out with him. But in terms of the number one book that I go to the most is Stephen Pressfield's The War of Art. The War of Art, I've reread 1,000,000 times now. Oh, got it. So that's what David meant when he said, it seems like YouTube comments are struggling. I was trying really hard to figure out what that meant. That's true. That's exactly right, Big Jim. All right. Well, here, I'm going to wrap this up because I have a 10 o'clock appointment, but I'll see you guys tomorrow. I'm thinking about saving the hour after office hours for one-on-ones, because office hours, I don't mind making myself available. Hopefully interesting projects just come up, like Tom Singer yesterday brought up his daughter's channel, which instantly I was able to see some things that I'd be happy to help with. But other of you guys maybe have projects that you would want just an hour of undivided time. I have no idea what to charge. I know that if a corporation or if a rando off the street books an hour of my time, it's $1,000 an hour. That's what happens when you're a subject matter expert. Like, for example, I don't know, you've been here for 95% of the entire run of YouTube, so you've seen a thing or three. But for you guys, I don't know. I'm thinking of just like maybe while we can just do like $99 for the hour after office hours, but not today. I'll think about it for tomorrow. I guess, do you do Calendly links or put it on Google Calendar? Yeah. Can I help you sell a bunch of your wife's purses on Poshmark? You better believe it. I'm fucking great at this stuff, guys. I can't wait to help you guys. All right. Well, look, I'm going to let you go. Let's plan. I'll think more about the one-on-one stuff tomorrow. But for now, that was a good time. Good job, team.